right. First, we want to welcome Landon Langston of Optimal Performance here. This is going to be the very first of our coach chats that we're going to do. We're going to talk to different folks around town and around the community. Landon has been a staple in the Wichita fitness industry or area for a long, long time. I want to give a little bit of history. When we started our practice, we started essentially, I kind of adopted some of the patients from a friend of mine, and we started in a hair salon up the street in Andover. And I was reaching out and talking to our friend Abby. She had Core Strength Wichita and Pilates studio, and she said, "Hey, these guys have a space down here. Like, you should talk to Landon and get this thing set up." And so, we're foam rolling, we're doing stuff on the floor in this hair salon, and everybody walks out of here covered in hair. And so it was really nice to kind of get into this space that has been Optimal Performance and been our home for, I think, almost 3 or 4 years at this point. So we for sure are grateful for helping us get off the ground and kind of creating this environment of belonging, and it was so beneficial when we were first starting out. And so thank you for all of that part, Landon.
Absolutely. Great.
Yeah. Well, if you can, tell us a little bit about the background of Optimal Performance, how you and your wife Bethany kind of got it off of the ground, and the several iterations that you guys have had in the past, I guess, 10 years or 15 years, I guess, whatever it is.
Sure. Well, a quick background. I think this is my 22nd or 3rd year training. We started Optimal Performance end of 2007, so we're going on about 15, and then this August will be 10 years at the current spot. And I think the impetus of getting it started was early on in my career. I kind of realized how much I enjoyed training, and then really just how much impact I was having. It was just far superseded what I thought I would be able to do when I was 20, 22, 24 years old. So I really enjoyed that. And then then I quickly found out how much my clients needed outside of my capability. Of course, my toolbox grew over the years as I got more experience, but I realized that they needed quite a bit more. So things they were asking for, things they were needing, I was always in search of those things. You guys know Zach at the gym, and he's been a good friend of mine at PT for a long, long time. So I was always, early on in my career, I was always asking him questions, picking his brains, and my client has this or that, and I have no idea what's going on. So it just kind of led me in a natural path of me trying to help my clients any way I could. So when we started, Beth and I did 15 years ago, that was kind of the one of the main goals was just to bring some people in-house, that we really felt shared a similar vision, and could really just provide some extra care to a lot of common things that we were seeing. And it's been kind of a really kind of a great combination so far. It's been slow to build just because we were looking for like-minded people more than and good people, genuine-hearted people, as opposed to talent. But it's been a great deal. You guys are a great example of that. And I think our team tries to do our best to reflect that.
So when you were going to school, or you were doing those first few years as a trainer and things like that, working at other facilities and stuff like that, was it always your idea in the back of your head that you were going to go open up a facility like this, or were you kind of like some people, kind of a reluctant entrepreneur, and be like, well, if nobody else is going to do it, I'll do it myself?
I guess a little bit of both. But I had some experiences early on. One of the first people I worked with was Bill O'Connor at Apex. I think you guys know Bill.
Yeah.
And he was great influence on just, I guess, the possibilities of that when I started, I didn't even know a trainer was a thing. It was a job. To be quite honest.
Yeah.
So working with him and kind of get my eyes open against some crazy and valuable experience with him, opened up a lot of doors for me. And then, of course, he introduced me to one of my mentors, Todd Durkin, which I think you're familiar with. And he was doing something that was just way above and beyond, way ahead of us in my eyes. Met him in 2007, and that kind of it just opened my eyes to some things that I thought that the care could kind of be next level. type of a thing. But it really, the industry's changed a lot in 20 some years, which is not necessarily even that long of a time, but even in that amount, it's really been progressive, in mostly good ways, I think.
What are some of those ways that you see? What are some of the things that you're seeing now and that you're training with now that are, I mean, starkly different from, pre-iPhone, phone on your camera days? I mean, like the technology has to have made a difference in your business, but what are some of the other things that have really changed in that time frame?
Well, I think kind of what we do currently, is kind of in its infancy, really, really just seeking out, whatever care is necessary, and a lot of times it's usually a collaborative effort, just with emotional, mind, body. There's just a lot of components. So I think that, 20 years ago, I think it was just more like, here's your program, or here's your physical therapy, here's your therapy regimen, here's the sheet, you do this, call me in the morning type of thing. So I think just people, obviously fundamentals really don't, the core stuff never really changes. It's fundamentals are always that way. But I think the biggest piece for me is, all these different modalities and things come together, people talking to each other, learning, and being more open-minded. I think is probably the biggest thing I've noticed.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. There's a lot of what feels like, and in Wichita, this is maybe sometimes viewed as a strange word, but there's a lot of more holistic kind of approaches to health and wellness than there has been in the past. And I think people are becoming smarter consumers, and they know they need to do X, Y, and Z, but they're more willing than ever, it seems like, to enlist the help to kind of help get them there.
Yeah, and another point I think is helpful is, the general population kind of has a preconceived notion of different kinds of care, whether it's training or therapy or chiropractic or massage. They kind of have a preconceived notion, and so sometimes it helps me to really open up doors if I can say, hey, go talk to Courtney about this, or maybe Lauren about that, or other experts, just because they could, I'm hoping that we're going to reinforce each other. But it's been extremely helpful, because traditionally when people are in pain or have issues, they're going to go to a general doc, and they're going to go that route, which is and they're going to end up in the same place, in the place they originally could have been in the first place. So just, it helps open doors in a lot of ways, not just, connecting physical dots.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that we know about this, and you alluded to Beth a little bit earlier, is that, the second that you walk into OP, you can tell that it's very much like a family business. And I think it's meant to feel that way. I mean, you're walking through the building and, there's pictures of you and the family, on all these walls, and, little Landon, playing sports and doing all this other stuff. And so what's it kind of been like for you to be able to bring your family into this business, and to, Landon is involved in, lots of sports and a very athletic kid. So what's all that kind of been like for you in terms of, incorporating this as a lifestyle?
Well, it's, for me, it's a super personal. I knew when I started this thing that I was pretty prepared to do whatever it takes, and without being too. I was pretty prepared to do what was necessary to make it successful. But I also realized how important and how close I was to my clients. Some of the clients I've had, we're 10, 15, some going on 20 years, and they're really like family. And I kind of knew that going in. So that was a big piece of kind of my foundation. So knowing I was going to spend a lot of time at the facility, and then just knowing the kind of the environment I wanted, whether it was the training staff we have, or, even the extensions we have, we wanted everyone to feel welcome. I didn't want to feel intimidating. So it was kind of like my church, my temple. I know I was going to put so much time and energy into it. And I really want that to be as genuine as possible, if that makes sense. So, of course, we have a lot of things to improve. But I think the things we've done, and the clientele we have, I think is a really good representation of just our, just ability and want to help people the best that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that our folks kind of comment on as they come in the door, if they've not been exposed to, optimal performance in the past is they come in and they see like there are a lot of youth athletes in there, and it seems like this has kind of been one of the things that you guys kind of hang your hat on is like getting these kind of young people and kind of getting a good foundation for them on kind of strength training and things like that. And so what are maybe some of the things, Landon, that parents or coaches are missing, about training kids this age? Because you've been doing this kind of stuff for a long time. And what are some of the things that just is going like over the heads of people?
Well, with kids, I mean, there's a little bit of variance if you're talking about 8, 9, 10-year-olds versus, kids 17, 18, 19 trying to go to college and things like that. But I think the number one thing most parents have to remember, and I have to remind myself of this too, is that, they're kids, and B, it's just really more about the mental emotional development. And of course, this is something that I didn't understand when I started a long time ago. I thought it was just about, the performance, the programming. We got to be fast, as quick, and, strong as possible and all these things. But as you do this for years and years and years, and, I've trained hundreds and hundreds of kids like I have, you just see so much of the bigger impact between the ears, and how we are such big, role models for them, and and I'm sure yourself and Griff, you guys have all had, coaches and teachers and things like that in your life, that have had big impacts. And I've had a lot of those experiences with kids. So I try to remind parents, when it's appropriate, that's a big piece of it. We want to provide a foundation, and of course, we're going to make them bigger, faster, stronger, no doubt. But we want to set up some good habits for them, positive ways to maybe look at nutrition and hydration. Why do we need to stretch and recover? Of course, these are all practical things that are going to make them perform better, but really things that are going to really apply long term, just in their life long term. So I think that's a bigger piece that most parents and even coaches sometimes forget or don't consider. Sometimes it's not, it's a hard selling point, but really, I mean, it's kind of perspective we always try to take, because, working hard, even for adults, but for kids, it's just, they want them to have fun and understand this needs to be a positive piece of their life forever, we hope.
What is one, you could go up there and, kind of look on those pictures on the wall, and you see that Landon has played every single sport known to man. There's pictures of him playing hockey. There's pictures of him, he's big into soccer and baseball and football and all of these different things. Is that's something really intentional that you guys are doing, or is this something that he is just like a great athlete and he wants to play all of the things and you're facilitating that? How's this working out for you guys personally, as somebody with, this kind of background?
Sure. Well, there are a couple ways for me to, I guess, explain that. I mean, for me personally, which is, I treat Landon very similar to what I would. And there's a lot of buddies you'll see in here in the gym that I train. Also, I train and communicate my philosophies very similarly. I always think it's great for kids to play a lot of different sports, but I think in general it's important for them to have a lot of different experiences. Not just sports. So Landon's done karate, and he likes chess, and he likes music. He plays the drums. So and of course, we're like any parent. We definitely don't have all the answers. I just want him to try as many things as he wants to try. Make sure he's not overloaded. Not overworked. I kind of know my kid and his physical stress, but I think the harder part is just as they grow, the mental, emotional stress and things like that. So, I mean, from a specific sports point of view, I think you probably see a lot of good literature where, playing multiple sports is beneficial to athletes over time. Lots of different stimulus. I think development really progresses better over time if you play 2 or 3 sports. But again, for me, I always fall back on the mental aspect and the emotional aspect where, we want all kinds of experiences. And we want our training to be one of those things too. We look at that, we see a lot of kids 2 or 3 times a week for years and years and years, so we have kind of a special place where we can kind of tie a lot of those things together and hopefully, share that aspect where we want just good, positive experiences where they can kind of develop good building blocks.
Yeah. Well, kind of segueing into kind of this next tier of questions then. So, for, your guys' approach, like how does your approach kind of sets you apart from other coaches, and who are the people, that you're looking for clients? Because I know you train the young kids too, but I also see people in their 70s and 80s in there. So, how does your approach kind of lend itself to, catching this, wide net of people, and who are those people that are most successful with you?
Well, that's a tough one to answer. That's a long-winded answer question there, but I think a lot of that stems back to when I started. Open the doors, there was a lot of me training whoever came in the door, and I was never, certain who I was going to be. So I want to be prepared as possible to train someone in their 80s, male, female, an athlete. And it just there was a natural progression with that. If I was training a mom or a dad, if they were getting ready for maybe a race or a wedding or whatever, a lot of them have naturally had kids or grandkids, and they would kind of, find out that I did that also. And that was kind of an easy way to get that started. I think I've also really enjoyed just the diversity of that. I have never really found my necessary niche or avatar. I still have kids I train, clients in their 80s, every kind of demographic. And I really like that in my day. I like, kids, they do take a lot of special energy and focus, and you have to communicate in a different way. But kids are super rewarding. I have kids now that are grown up and have their own kids, and, we still talk, and I really love that. But then of course, people that are older have lots of life experience. I get to help them, keep them out of pain. You guys are a big part of that all parts of that. So I think it's just, it's a real simple philosophy for me. I just try and help where I can. And I'm never really surprised that there's always new stuff to learn. And there's just so many avenues to do it. It's sometimes hard when you're trying to market something, because, we find, we do stuff with the soccer and sporting, and we stuff with volleyball, and, but really it's always the same philosophy, how can we help? And we, sometimes, and a lot of people don't know this about us, that, we don't necessarily control, especially a lot of our athletes programming. We encourage people to be involved in their schools and their weight programs and the strength programs. We think that's invaluable. So we are always, a lot of times, supplementing a lot of things of what they're doing. There's just certain things that maybe strength coaches that have 100 kids can't get to. There's just stuff we can help with that they kind of need a little bit extra help. But I'm not sure if I answered your question fully there, but there was a lot there.
Yeah, it was a 7-part question, and so I think you got them all. You nailed it. Let's make this kind of our last question and wrap up on this one then. Landon, what do you feel like is your biggest accomplishment or your proudest moment as a coach or a trainer or a business owner? What are one of the things that you can kind of point to throughout your career and be like, hey, this is something that I thought was pretty cool?
Oh man. That answer probably would change over the years. I think I'm probably most proud of, creating opportunities for other people to help people, whether it's by trainers, or helping you guys progress along to wherever you guys are. Because that's really my ultimate goal. I would have stayed, I could have stayed by myself, self-proprietor, working on myself, done just fine. I love helping people. The impact they make is tremendous. But I think that the thing I like the most is giving my trainers and whoever else comes in, to be part of our team, opportunity to really find their voice. How are they going to help people? And it's really cool when you see them succeed, really enjoy it, and I guess feel the same feelings that I feel. Because I'm sure you guys have had similar situations where you never know how much you're helping, or if you are, but I think there's just been a handful of times in my career where I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea it was that impactful. So when I get to pass that along to another trainer, I think the career, money and things like that are part of it and fine, but I think just the impact and some of the stories I could share that have changed people's lives, people losing hundreds of pounds, or being able to walk again, or getting out of crazy emotional distress, I think are the biggest things that I'm most proud of, and proud that I get opportunities to share with other team members.
I think that's so, that's just such an amazing, profound thought, because, sometimes, we can only like measure a lot of times, as somebody that, people that are in the fitness industry and people that are they like to see the numbers. They're sometimes very tangibly driven, and impact is one of those things that's really hard to measure. Like, I can't measure how well you interact with your, coworkers, or how well you interact with, the people in your church, or how well you interact with your family, because you are feeling better, because you're moving better, because you're feeling healthy, you're sleeping better. And it all ties into this, to this bigger picture. And so it's really profound. And I think that's it's something that's really hard to calculate, and it's really hard to measure. But when you go to bed at the end of the day and like, yeah, I did something today, and that's always kind of the best feeling, I think.
Yep, I agree. It's been great. I spent a lot of long hours and exhausted nights, but I've never woke up not wanting to go to work. So I think that's a great blessing, and that's to me, a big reason why. So I'm super grateful.
At crazy hours in the morning, at super crazy hours in the morning.
Yeah, that's okay. That's my time of day.
Oh man. Well, Landon, we're going to wrap things up. Thank you so much for hopping on here and being our inaugural guest of our coaches chat. And we're really happy to kind of get to know you and to have worked with you for all these years, and definitely grateful for what you've done for our practice and what you've done for the community of Wichita.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. You guys are going to do great, and I'm sure we'll continue relationship for years to come, man.